Now to Austria, where a remote Catholic hermitage built high in the Austrian Alps is looking for a new occupant, a hermit. Now, Catholic and municipal officials in the town of Salfenden near Salzburg say he must crave peace and quiet and be able to cope with living alone. They say he doesn't have to be Roman Catholic, but must have a Christian background and a Christian outlook. The position is unpaid, and the successful applicant must be prepared to live without electricity, running water, or the internet. Because the 350-year-old hermitage is unheated and sits at an altitude of 4,600 feet, it is only habitable between April and November. Despite the potential hardship, the parish is confident it'll find the right man for the job. The previous hermit retired last autumn after a 10-year stint, and the one before that lived there for more than 30 years. There have been hermits in the Salfelden retreat since the 17th century, and it's one of the last working hermitages in Central Europe. So is this a job for you? Well, with me now to talk about this are Caroline Farrow, a columnist for Catholic Voices, and Dr. Warwick Onyama, a retired eminent psychiatrist and psychologist. Thank you very much indeed to both of you for coming in. I mean, what possible attraction, Caroline, could there be in becoming a hermit in Austria?
Well, actually quite a lot. I mean, I know I'm mother to 5 children, and the idea of retreating from the world is often very appealing. But no, I mean, hermits have always been a part of the Catholic tradition. They retreat from the world, they pray, and by renouncing sort of all the spiritual, all the physical comforts, actually they draw closer to God. So I can see, but you'd need to have a certain type of, very strong personality, and you'd have to be quite resourceful and not to crumble under pressure. But yeah, I think there's still a place for them.
Right. Well, let's talk to a man who's got some experience in psychological and psychiatric dispositions. What type of person needs to do this job?
I think quite a strong personality. This is no place for snowflakes. You've got to be pretty resolute within yourself to cope with what could possibly be a prolonged period of isolation from contact with the world as a whole. That takes a lot of strength of character. As I say, this is no place for the feeble-minded.
And of course, Caroline, the hermit doesn't have a salary, but there is free accommodation. I understand the views are spectacular. Is that enough to compensate for the lack of pay, not to mention no internet, no heat, and no running water?
Absolutely. I mean, I think you have to remember that hermits traditionally have never been paid. They relied from the generosity of the local community. They were self-sufficient. If they weren't sort of being gifted things, they were making things to sell. And there's a branch of hermits in America who have to use the internet in order to sell their goods. But interestingly, when they do so, they must be supervised. They can't do it on their own. And so I think for the right personality, then yeah, absolutely, you wouldn't do this. You don't become a hermit because you want fame, glory, money. You want the mod cons. Interestingly, though, in order to be a hermit, you don't have to necessarily renounce running water.
Right.
This
case,
is quite.
You have to, I'm afraid. Warwick, I mean, you are rather connected to people, aren't you? I mean, much too connected to people to want to be a hermit.
Well, it does have attractions. I mean, being connected to people does sometimes make a hermitage appear very appealing indeed. But really, the reason for being a hermit is always a mystical religious one. And whether you're connected with people or not, that's really what you're becoming a hermit for. Right. You want a closer, intimate connection with the state of godliness.
Right. But of course, Caroline, it doesn't sound like an equal opportunities hermiting job, does it? I mean, is it curious that they seem to be looking for only men, or is that in keeping with Catholic traditions?
Well, yes and no. I mean, it's interesting. On the point of loneliness and connectedness, it was interesting. I was just thinking, actually, you can bump into somebody on the tube who could be every bit as lonely and disconnected as a hermit. But in terms of Catholic tradition and male hermits, yes, the great doctors of the church were all males. So if you think St. Jerome, he was a hermit. You've got St. John Chrysostom, another famous hermit, St. Paul of Thebes. Traditionally, they were men, and I think that was because they had to retreat into the desert, and it wasn't really safe or appropriate for women to do so. But then in the Middle Ages, we did have anchoresses. So they were women who took on a hermit's role, but they would be sort of bricked up in a room or an apartment adjoining typically a church, and they would fulfill the same role. But
well, clearly you've still got people, I mean, you know, you've got people in the 21st century who crave that sort of religious discipline, both men and women. I mean, Warwick, if you chose somewhere just to escape in the world, where would that be?
Well, I've been on retreats, which is about as far as I get to a silent retreat, as far as I get to a hermitage. And I've been to orders, you know, relatively semi-closed orders for that purpose. The Isle of Wight is the one that I've been to probably most of all, a Catholic prelature
Isle
there.
of Wight for you. What about you, Caroline?
I would say Venice, simply because there's lots of lovely churches too, and lovely scenery. But you know, when you're close to God, you don't actually necessarily need everyday contact, and that's what the hermits are trying to achieve.
Okay. Caroline Farrow and Dr. Warwick Onyama, thank you very much indeed to both of you. Very interesting discussion.
Welcome.